A couple months back, I made a video called Language Learning with RemNote and Notion. Mostly, I talked about how I use RemNote to study French. As for Notion, I used it mostly for like a dictionary, documentation, sort of a wiki for words and phrases. Since then, my Notion language dictionary has changed quite a bit. Yesterday, I created a template that resembles this workflow that I use for my French words. And today, what we're going to do is just create that template from scratch. Now, I haven't done a video making a Notion workspace from scratch or a database from scratch in a while. I also haven't done like a big Notion build with me in a while, so I'm excited to do this one with you. I get a lot of comments about my language learning video, so hopefully this clears some things up on the Notion end of things. I'm also going to discuss how this template can help a language learner, but also a multi-language learner. So let's just get right into it. This is the template that you guys are going to see. This is the original template you'll see from the link down below. What we have here is the Polyglot language dictionary. We have the word bank at the top. And this word bank is divided into 3 sections. We have one for words from A through K, another for L through S, and the last one for T through Z. This is more of an aesthetic choice. Coming down from there, we have 3 databases that are connected to this word bank. So in this example, it would be for like a multi-language learner. There's one for German, another for French, and another for Spanish. Of course, this can also work for one language database. Each language database has its own unique properties, but there is one property that is connecting to this word bank, and that is this translate property. And this is a relation property. If I were to put in a new translation, for example, fish, it will show up in the word bank. Next is the automated synonyms. So what this is we're going to use a self-referential database in Notion using a roll-up to show us every other word in a language database that shares a translation. Let's just get right into the template and start building this. The first thing we're going to make is the word bank. So to make a new list database, which I want to make here, I'm going to go /inline list. And this option should show up. Call this the word bank. If we go back to the original template, you'll see that there is an emoji next to some of these databases. I'm going to show you how to implement that. So if you go over to this icon, open as page, first of all, I'm going to delete all of these default pages and go up to add icon. I can add an icon here, maybe called bank. Now, before we mess with that, let's create an example of a language database. Let's create, exactly like in that template, a German database. Open as page, maybe add an emoji. Come back here and start creating some of these unique properties. Let's rename name to the word. Let's make another property called gender. Make that a select property. So let's do masculine, feminine, and neutral. The next property we could do is part of speech, and this is just your nouns, your verbs, your adverbs, your adjectives, things like that. For this template, let's just do the basics. Let's go verb, noun, adjective, adverb. Next, let's do maybe an example sentence /note. Next thing you may want to put in here is maybe prefix. This is the use of the or a. An example might be something like la or le. Make this a bit smaller and put it over at before the word. Now let's connect this database to the word bank. with a property called translation. And coming in here to property type, I'm just going to go down to advanced and click relation. This is going to prompt us to select a database we want to relate to. So I'm just going to search for the word bank. You'll see that a relation is made inside the word bank as well. And this is related to German translation. And that's our property called translation. I'm going to rename this to German. Let's put in an example word. Adjective and noun. This one is masculine and the prefix. Okay, so next is going to be the translation. So what does this word translate to in my native language? It's going to be sorrow, grief, misfortune, and you can see that it is now populating inside of that word bank. I can also put an example sentence over here. I basically put in, what is this example sentence part of speech? So this sentence is using the adjective. So I'm just putting adjective. GER means German. Typing the sentence here, highlighting the word this sentence is related to, and the English version right below it. So that would be the translation. How I'm getting new lines within a text property is I'm just going Shift Enter. Now what I want to do is actually start hiding some properties. So with every single one of these properties, I'm going to go into Hide Property and Hide When Empty. This will just clean up each card. Another property I want to make is called CF, and this is going to be a checkbox. We're not going to worry about that one right now. The next one's going to be Roll Up Hide. This one is going to help us with the automated synonyms. The reason I'm calling it roll up hide is because I'm going to hide it. So I'm going to go to hide property and always hide. CF, we're going to do the always hide as well. Okay, so with roll up hide, we're going to change it to a roll up, and that's down in advanced. So what does a roll up do? A roll up only works when you also have a relation within your database. And we do. We have this translation relation to the word bank. A relation is a connection, but a roll-up is like a portal or a window into the database you're connected to. So if I'm connected to my word bank and there happens to be other properties in word bank, I can grab those other properties, but only through a window. I can't click on these properties. What I want to do here is just click on this cell here and it'll give you a configuration box. I'm going to select the relation that I'm working with. That would be translation, the only one we have. The property I want to grab is actually German, which is the only other property available. And I just want to show the original. So what is this doing? I'm basically getting every single German word that relates to the translation here. It seems a bit redundant because this is the only word we're dealing with so far, but I'll explain this when we get to that synonyms automation. Let's add 2 more examples within this database that are verbs. So I treat verbs a little bit differently because of conjugation. So this word is both a verb and a noun. Prefix can actually be multi-select, and this is masculine. And you'll see up here that those words are automatically populating in the word bank. Okay, so now that we have this here, we have the example sentence, I have it the English translation. I want to say, put another word that is the conjugate of this original verb. Say it is a verb, and all I'm going to do is create another property called root word. Root word. So that I know what the root word of this verb is. And I'm actually going to make this one a relation as well. Except this time, I'm not looking for word bank, I'm looking for the database we're in. So this is called a parent-child relation. So I'm looking for German. And I'm also going to sync both ways. Now in root word, I'm simply just going to find the root here. Now that that is there, another property will populate. This one here called related to German root word. Let's change this title to see also. And for both of these, again, we're just going to hide when empty. If we go back to that root word, that root verb, you'll see that C also populates with one of the conjugations. Let's work on that synonym template. First, we have to create two words that are synonyms. Just come over here, actually, copy and paste some stuff. Actually, first, let's sort this database before we go any further by alphabetical order. This one is collective, unified, united, and combined. Now you'll see that we have some common translations. We have collective in this word and collective in this word here. So our synonym database is going to find that these two words are synonyms because they have at least one common translation. We're going to create a template. Go down to templates, add new template here, and let's just call this new dictionary entry and give it an emoji as well. We're going to create something called a self-referential database. But first, let's create a header with heading 2 and call it Synonyms. And maybe give it a color as well. What is a self-referential database? We are essentially referring to the database we're currently in, so to the self, using a linked database feature. And to find this linked database feature, we're going to go /linked database. Create linked database, and we're going to go ahead and find German, which is the database we are in. Now that we have this here, we're going to clean it up a little bit. I just want to hide some unnecessary properties. I'm also going to make sure this wraps cells. Also, I want this to be full width. So I'm going to come up here and go toggle full width, and maybe also I want this to show me a different font. So let's choose this font. Let's filter this database here to only show us synonyms of the current word. I'm going to go into filter, add a filter. We're now going to use that roll-up hide property. So I'm going to go to roll-up hide. So what this means is at least one translation within roll-up hide contains the word we're currently in. So in order to tell the database this, we're actually going to say, I want rollup hide to contain the name of this template, which is new dictionary entry. And I'll show you how that function works in a moment. We're also going to add a sort here, which is just word ascending A through Z. That seems like that's really all we need. So let's just go back. Go to an example of a word that has a synonym. That's our two words here, the first and the last. Go to new dictionary entry, and you'll see that two words have populated, the word that we're currently in and one of its synonyms. I can come back to the German database and apply all of these templates to every single one of them. And we get this nice emoji here too. Coming down to the other synonym, you will also see all of its synonyms. And what's really nice about a self-referential database, and not just using a rollup, because technically, if we go to rollup hide, one thing you can do if you simply just want to see related words and synonyms, but you don't want to click through to them, you don't want to edit them, you can go to, in calculate in this configuration, show unique values. And that will just give you the two synonyms, but you cannot click on them, but you'll be able to see them. As you can see, that kind of messes with our filter down here. So we're gonna have to change it back to show original. The next thing I want to do is clean up our word bank. So now that this word bank is getting pretty long, first of all, I want to go to properties and make sure only the first 25 pages load. I also want to create a sort that puts everything in alphabetical order. And then just like the original template, let's create a section for A through K, another one for L through S, T through Z. And I'm just going to create columns here. So I'm just going to grab this block and drag it next to A through K, and the same thing here. And that'll create 3 columns. Within this first column, we'll have the original database, A through K. Come down to filter, and I'm just going to make sure, actually, let's turn this into a group filter. I want to make sure the name starts with capital A, or B, or C, and you just kind of keep going down the line until I get to K. There we go. To create a database that is L through S, we're just going to find the linked database to the World Bank, or sorry, the Word Bank. I saw that bank emoji. I'm going to make sure this says list, not table, and I'm just going to delete that table view. And in the exact same way, we're going to add that sort, so everything's in alphabetical order, and those filters. So this is how this is configured. And I'll just change these headings to red. Let's create another database. Say I want to learn more than one language at a time. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this German database and rename it to, say, French. Change this emoji. That's about it. Everything else can stay. Delete all of these entries. And now you'll notice that inside the word bank, we have another relation. We have related to copy of German, which is the one we just copied from German, which is actually French now. So let's call that French. Now all our French words will automatically populate into the word bank. What we also need to make sure we have to do is configure this roll-up hide, because it is still connected to the property German in that window. We just want to change it to French. And now our synonyms will be fixed. And that's all we really have to do to create another language database. Let's add some words into this database. So a translation to this French word is a word we already have in our word bank. So there's already a German word that has the same translation. So if I were to go to sorrow, I'll be able to see in every language I have in this dashboard what words translate to sorrow. Again, we can trigger this synonym template and everything will occur just like in that German database, except now we are connected to the French database. Now here's a little added formula, because of course I have to add formulas to this template. Inside the word bank, let's say we have a lot of different languages. Say we have 4 or 5 different languages that we're dealing with, and you might want to count how many words altogether associate with collective. So let's make a formula called number of words and quickly make a little formula here. First, we're going to say if not empty. So if property German is not empty, then I want to find the length after replacing all commas. Now, don't worry about this. This is not a formula video, but I just want to show you, for people who are familiar with formulas, how I'm going about this. Replacing everything that is not a comma, so I'm using this caret, comma, inside a matrix, or brackets. Everything that's not a comma, so all of the words are going to be empty. Then I'm just going to add 1, otherwise 0. So now I will be able to count how many German words are connected to our word in the word bank, but now I want to add also how many French words connect to collective and add that to the amount of German words. So I'm just going to copy this little piece of formula, which will be available to copy and paste down in the template below. Paste that over and rename German to just French. And this will add everything together. We come over to sorrow. we'll see 2 words are connected to it. And for added measure, we can make sure we see this number by navigating to properties and triggering number of words. So now that we have all of that, let's actually create one more database and duplicate it. We won't add any words in it, but I just want to show you how we can duplicate yet another one pretty easily. Maybe rename this one to Spanish and do the same thing we did with the French database, where we just clear the prefix, delete all the words inside, navigate to roll up hide, and make sure it's connected to, well, right now it says related to copy of French. We're going to rename that to Spanish up here in the word bank and just rename this to Spanish. And now what we can do is add yet another line of formula, copying and pasting this line and just replacing French with Spanish. So the last thing I want to show you is just a practical use case for this dictionary. So let's say we have a page called Documents, and all these documents are in the different languages we're looking at, and we're practicing translating them. Here's just a little example of how I would go about this. So we have our French on one side and a translation on the other inside of a toggle. Now, for a practical use of this dictionary, let's say we come across a word in this translation document that we want to add to the dictionary. Let's say we want to add this word here. What I would do is copy it, delete it, press the plus button, paste it back in. Now be able to create a new page out of this word. This option here, and just look for French. Or really, I could just look for our template. So I can say new dictionary entry. Now we have a choice between our 3 databases. We have Spanish, French, and German. We're dealing with French here, so let's just add it to the dictionary like so. Now if I were to click on this word, it will automatically create not only an entry inside our French database, but will also trigger this Synonyms template and all of the fonts and the customization. And a backlink will appear to where this link originated, which is inside of that document page. However, this might get a little bit annoying, and here's why. Let's say we're in that translation page and we have a lot of words we're transferring over to the dictionary. We're not going to fill out all of these properties as we're transferring them. Maybe you just want to transfer a whole page and come back to filling out all of these, gender, parts of speech later. It's going to be relatively hard to find those words you need to edit later. So here's my fix to make sure those words are easy to find. We're going to create another template. Let's just create it inside of French here. Except we're going to create this template inside of all of them, all of the databases. Let's call this one edit later entry. And maybe give it another emoji so it's easy to spot. And make sure CF is clicked. That's what that checkbox is there for. Going back to documents, we can do the same thing, except this time we're going to find new document page in edit later entry. And that's inside our French database. And that'll give us a blue emoji. And we click through to it and go to our French database. It will show up a bit different. Also, that backlink will still appear. And we can also change it back to the original template if we'd like to new dictionary entry when we're ready. So why do I have that checkbox ticked? That's because I want to create a new view called edit later. And simply add a filter where CF is ticked. And that's it. Now you have all the words you need to edit later. Inside the default view, you can also change the name of this to just maybe dictionary. We can get rid of these edit laters as well by just, again, doing a filter, except this time CF is unclicked. I hope this answered any questions from my last language learning video. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. We haven't done one of these big like Notion build with me's in a while. Of course, the template is down below. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And let me know what you may want to use something like this for. As well, that Synonyms self-referential database, if you want to use something like this that's not nearly as complicated, maybe you just want to automate some related notes via tags or a tag wall, I do have an article linked down below that I wrote, I think earlier this week or last week, that explained how that works, and also a template was included with that as well over on the website. Also, if you don't mind, leave some suggestions for other videos you want to see. I know last week I made a RemNote video that wasn't like a traditional guide or tutorial. So if you want to see another RemNote video that's more of a guided tutorial, let me know what type of RemNote video you want to see. You want to see a Rome video, Obsidian, something different that's not Notion, or a specific type of Notion template. Also let me know, because I'm kind of running out of ideas over here. All right, I'll see you guys next time.